My name is Gary Kenshin. So, alright, slice that like button. Test, 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 test. Okay, he's back. Ooh, Esperanza and Robert Glasper. Test, test. Okay. right, cool. You asked for tips on how to avoid injuries. Um, Relax, man. If you're getting injuries, it's it's probably from like bad technique, unfortunately. $7 million. Wow. It's Alpine. Okay. Um, 9 bedrooms, 9 full bedrooms. That's nice. Wow, that's nice. Yeah, it's Alpine, New Jersey. Looks like the grass needs to be kept up. But what I was gonna say is, what I was gonna say is, if you gotta relax, man. You know, like I was I had like a lot of injuries from just years of just bad technique. Um, and I just revamped around around 2011. 2000, yeah, around 2010. 2010, 2011. I completely revamped my whole style and my playing technique. Not necessarily my style, my playing technique. I used to do a lot of this. And the thing with playing with your wrist is, not only does it wear out the metacarpals in your wrists, but you get carpal tunnel syndrome. You're a sure candidate for that. But it also puts undue pressure on your elbows, because what happens is you're playing like this, but you're accenting with your elbows. So I had to actually start playing with my fingers, accenting. Sorry, that was a 4 o'clock alarm. But I had to. I used to like around. I don't know how long that alarm's been going off, but around 2010, like 2010, 2011, I completely revamped my playing technique, and I used to play and use my wrists for the movement. I use my elbows for accents. Two things wrong. Um, you're gonna wear out the metacarpals in your wrists from doing this all the time. Hence, you're gonna develop carpal tunnel syndrome. Um, and you also put undue stress on your elbows. Um, so what I did, instead of doing this, I started doing this. So the elbows are just there to keep your hands. And all this came from finger technique. Instead of using my wrists to create the movement, I use my hands to create the movement. So it allows. I mean, like, and it's really physics. Instead of doing this, you can get further from point A. You can go further. It's like running. If you got a hundred yards versus 40. The 40 yard, if you're going back and forth from 100 to from 100 yards, 100 meters, back to 1 meter, the time is slower, and it takes more energy expenditure than to get from uh, 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 um what do you call it? I'm kind of distracted here. From meter one to meter 40 and back to meter one. Why? Because it's a shorter distance. The time will be faster. It takes less energy. Well, your wrists are the same way. It's physics, As opposed to doing this, you can just do this. A little out of practice. A lot out of practice, actually. You know, but you know, it's like I said, it's physics. It's you know, so I just started using finger technique. And really, I was forced to do that because the connective tissue in my elbows was calcifying, and my wrists were going bad. And I went to this really high end um, sports rehab place, and they were like, if you don't do what we're doing in 5 weeks, just stop playing in 5 weeks. That's the amount of rehab you're gonna need. And if you don't do what we're doing, over time you're not gonna be able to play anymore. And I had to literally revamp my whole style. They had me, not my whole style, my playing technique. You know, and one of the guys was like an MMA fighter. One of the doctors, he was actually an MMA fighter, and he was like, a fast muscle is a relaxed muscle. That's one of the training tenets that they kind of push. A fast muscle is, even in fighting, a fast muscle is a relaxed muscle. So I had to learn how to really, really, really relax. And after I did that, I went on YouTube and I looked up like world's fastest drummer leagues. The WFD league, world's fastest drummer. And they had guys like, this is back when Mike Mangini was competing, and all of those guys use finger technique, and I was like, oh, so that's the move. So yeah, and ever since then, I've never gained any. I've never had any injuries. I've been able to play a lot more relaxed. Another thing too is I prefer you do this to a metronome. Just sit there and play like this, relaxed. What you're doing is you're teaching yourself how to relax. You're training your body to relax. Don't do that. Do it to a metronome. You know, just do these. You notice very little wrist movement. Any movement that comes from the wrist, it's sympathetic. You know, So that I mean, I'll literally sit there just and watch a YouTube video. I'll just watch a YouTube video, and I prefer the long ones. If I can find one for an hour and a half, a nice 2 hour documentary, I'll sit there. And one of the concerns might be, well, I'm going to lose speed and power. No, you won't. You'll gain speed and power because you can't really learn how to play foul, fast, and loud until you learn how to play slow and quiet. Why? Because you're developing full range of motion. So those are just some of the things. You know, another thing I see guys do is they put their cymbals way up high, and because it looks cool, but it's a good way to blow out your shoulders. Just being frank, it's a good way. It's an excellent way to blow out your shoulders. Um, and one of the byproducts of just playing loose is when you're playing relaxed, then a lot of the ideas that come to your head, you can actually just play them. The ideas just flow. So a lot of times ideas don't flow if you're playing stiff because you're too busy struggling to hold it together to even try to execute something, as opposed to playing relaxed. You don't have to necessarily hold anything together. You got it, so you can just blah. You can kind of breathe it out. You know. That's one of the drawbacks of playing really relaxed. Really, to gain speed, you have to loosen your grip. You have to. If you drop a stick, you drop a stick. It is what it is. Um, you won't be the only one. You're not the first one. You won't be the last one. But you gotta loosen your grip. The lever action will not work if you know, you can't take advantage of the rebound if you're playing, stiff as a board. Now, if you're trying to figure out how to get um, the finger technique, here, I don't know if you can see this. This is the fulcrum right here. You use the middle knuckle of your middle finger to create the movement. These two fingers are for stability, so the stick doesn't go too high. The stick is going to do that. So it's for stability and control. eventually, if you keep working on your hands, your next problem is trying to get your arms to play as fast as your hands do. Because a lot of times you end up overshooting. Your hands, you end up going like, I have to actually look at the center of the tom because if not, I'll be hitting rims and all of that stuff. The reason why is because my hands will be moving like this, but my arms will be moving around, but my hands will be moving faster than my arms are able to move. But the way you deal with that is you could get some books. Put some books under your arms. And just sit there and play with books under your arms. Move around the kit with books under your arms. Another way you can do that is a pair of sticks costs about 13 bucks. A pair of wooden sticks. A pair of solid metal sticks on Amazon costs the same, $12.99. Order some solid aluminum sticks. Don't use them on your drum set. Use them on your drum pad. And if you got like multiple pads set up, like I have a practice pad kit. I've got one of those DW kind of like, it's a practice pad kit. DW Smart Practice. They cost like $200, a little over $200. But if you can get one Facebook Marketplace between 70 and 80 bucks. Get them used. Don't get them used. They're like 80 bucks max used. You can go to Guitar Center and get a used one for 80 bucks. You get it brand new, you're gonna pay 200 bucks. But that being said, I usually use that kit when I'm doing stuff like and that's to get my arms used to moving around. But I use those sticks to kind of get my hands used to moving around. It's almost like having wrist weights. You can buy wrist weights. The point is to kind of handicap your arms to get them used to moving so much. So that's like a few tricks or tips just for moving around, gaining movement, and not having to worry about injury. Here's an exercise. That's a cool exercise. These pedals are horrible. My next move is some new pedals. One thing I was warned when I first, a guy who I learned a lot from, he was never my teacher. I could never afford it, but he would give me little tips and tricks. The whole thing with metal drumsticks, solid metal drumsticks. The first time I saw him was from a guy named Joey Navolo. Um, and it was Johnny Marchand, Joey Navolo. What was Brian Nelson, the 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 white Brian Nelson. There was a black Brian Nelson and a white Brian Nelson. The black Brian Nelson I went to school with, he worked at Sony Records and he was in management. Yeah, he was in management. The the white Brian Nelson I knew, he was an insane drummer. Um, Ronnie Cockermanzadi, all those guys. I'm naming some guys that were like disgustingly sick on drums. But Joey Novolo, he taught all those guys. Um, and he played with like he was Greg Howe's first touring drummer, and then studio drummer. He played with a lot of people. He played with a lot of people. Serious studio touring guy. But he lived in the town that I lived in. And he was like, "Yo, man, you got pretty good technique, man. You're very clean." He's like, "There's certain things you need to work on." He didn't tell me at the time because you got to pay for that. But I saw a pair of brass drumsticks, and I was like, "What are those for?" He said, "Practice." I was like, "Really?" He said, "Yeah, but you got to watch out for them." I was like, "What do you mean?" He said, "Because they'll ruin your touch." And I was like, "Huh." I didn't really think about it at the time until I bought a pair of solid aluminum drumsticks, and I had those sticks for years, and I never used them. So now I've been using them for about a month, and I'm noticing what he means by they ruin your technique. Um, these sticks are heavier than the other ones I had. The other ones I had, I liked them because they were fat, but they were kind of light. These, I'm like, I need heavier sticks. Now I need heavier sticks. And I understand why he said that. It's 57, 56, okay. I understand why he said that because you're going to find yourself needing heavier sticks. Um, you know, because the light sticks just. But you gain a lot of speed, man. Metal sticks, I'm telling you, making sure I'm not muted. I'm telling you, that is the cheat code. Solid metal sticks, and they're not expensive. They're the same price as a pair of wooden sticks. $12.99 on Amazon. And when I got them, they come with like a rubber, grip. But now they come with the little rubber tips. I do not use them on your drum set. You will kill you. You'll poke holes in your toms and everything. You'll crack your cymbals. Don't do it. Do not do it at all. Use them if you don't have a practice pad. Use them on some. Excuse me. Use them on some pillows. Practice on some pillows. But a practice pad, if you don't have one, why do I keep burping? I feel like I'm burping and I'm swallowing the same gas bubble back down, and it just comes back up, and I'm swallowing it down. I don't know why. But yeah, metal sticks. Do not use them on your drums. Now, if you do, and you tear your stuff up, you were warned. But they are the cheat code. They're the serious cheat code. Ulysses, what up? What up? Um, I'm gonna say this, man. Tune the drums. I try to tune the drums. I try to tune them to their inherent pitch. Um, in that you can get a drum dial, which is really expensive, or you can get one of these keys. And what they do is there's a little dial right here. The actual drum dial that you stick on ah oh wow, I got a wrinkled shirt. I don't care. Um, but what happens is the drum dial. You could use a drum dial, but those are gonna be like last time I saw they were like $60. They're probably like $100 now. Or you can get one of these. Evans makes them. It's a key that you turn this little knob, and then once it gets to a certain tension, you know, it pops open. Like you can turn, 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 and boom. Once it pops, you go to the next one and you cross tune. I'm gonna say this: tuning takes a lot of practice. Um, you could just tap tune. Now I'm gonna give you a little secret. My drums ain't tuned perfect. Um, I tune them until they sound good to my ear, and I kept practicing. I don't really have like I tap tune sometimes. Like I just well, it's a bad example because all of these are like tuned pretty good. So, but it's from like tap tuning, cross tuning, and tap tuning. You know, try to get them to sound as close to the same on both sides as possible. You know, um, so yeah, like now, right now with this is just regularly tuned, no special tuning, with two pieces of moon gel, two pieces of moon gels on that one, two pieces on this one, four pieces on this one because this is kind of it's booming. Four pieces on this one because bass drums I like mine a little muffled. Um, and another way, well, yeah, I was gonna say another way is start recording yourself because you'll learn real quick if your stuff is tuned right or not. But if you can't do that, um, yeah, cross tuning. Um, and cross tuning and what's the name of that? And try to get the top and bottom to sound the same. You know, try to get the top and bottom heads to sound as close to the same as possible. You know, because if not, if one is slightly, if the top head is tuned slightly higher than the bottom head, then it's going to be overtones, and vice versa. If the bottom head is tuned slightly tighter than the top head, it's going to be overtones. So try to get the top heads and bottom heads as close as possible. The closer you get them, the better they'll sound, the less overtones you're going to hear. Because a lot of times when you're hearing overtones, you're hearing it's because one head isn't tuned exactly like the other. You know, um, you hit the tom, it creates a tone. The sound goes down, it bounces off the bottom head, and once it bounces off the bottom head, if it's not the same tuning, it's gonna give you you're gonna hear two different tunes. You're gonna hear two different tones coming from the same drum. They have to be tuned exactly the same. It's really not rocket science. Like I try me. I'm gonna be honest. I need things. I look at myself. I'm not a, I'm a moron. Like, and I try to keep things moronically simple. Like so simple that a moron could like, oh, that's easy. You know. But yeah. Well, because drums are tuned, you can really tune people sometimes they say you can tune the drums based on the pitch of the actual shell. You get a rubber mallet, you bang the shell. This is, you bang the shell. Whatever the tone you get out of that shell is how you tune that drum. But that's standard tuning for drums. But drums you can get away with different. It's just like guitar. So you might have drop D tuning for guitar. Like it depends on how you want to hear. If your guitar is tuned in fourths. You know what I mean? Um so standard tuning for drums is getting a rubber mallet, hanging the tom there, and just do whatever tone that shell has. That's how you tune it. But you can, if you want to tune it high, you want it to sound like a jazz kit, you can tune it high. Tune it high and put coated heads on it. If you want it to sound real thuddy and big and boomy, you know what I mean, and like just like with power, tune them a little lower, and that's what you'll get. Like like for instance in R&B, the snares are really high, the rack toms are kind of mid, the floor toms are tuned really low and thuddy. And rock, rock, punk, like any like punk, metal, whatever. Um, all the toms are tuned really low. In jazz, the toms are tuned extremely high, the snares tuned high. The reason why is because when you have an upright bass, if you tune your stuff, the toms are high, the snare is high, and the bass drum is high. Because if not, when you're when the drummer plays, you'll hear the bass coming out of his upright bass. You'll hear the floor tom, like the floor tom or the bass drum booming through. The reverberation will go right into that upright bass. So everything has to be tuned higher. But the size of the tom don't really matter. It don't matter. You know, I've had like for instance, this is a 14 by 6. This is a 14 by 4.5. This is tuned lower than this one. This one's detuned. You know what I mean? But if I standardly tune them, this one would be lower than this one. But I like tuning a bigger snare higher because it has more body. I like to tune a small snare lower because it kind of doesn't come off as thuddy, you know. So yeah. I've had some pretty wild experiences. I've had the guys that I look up to, um, in terms of drumming. I've had them like, bro, you're pretty dope, man. Just keep going at it. You know, um, I've had guys like I remember Justin Brown. He was playing with Thundercat for a while, and he was like, I left. He was like, yo, bro, you know, where are you? I was like, I think I was live, and I was on live, and I was leaving, and he was like, where are you? I said, bro, I'm like leaving. He was like, oh, I'm trying to get you to come backstage. I was like, oh, but I was already in the parking lot. I had packed up the kids and everything. I could have just said, hey, honey, stay with the kids. I'm about to go backstage. Um, but yeah, it was crazy. I mean, I just seeing Van Halen live, seeing Sabbath live with Ozzy. Yeah, I'm that old. Um, it was Van Halen's first tour. They opened up for Ozzy. Um, man, let me tell you something. Van Halen were like they were like on 10,000. They weren't on 10. They were on like 10,000. They were rocking so hard. Like the venue that we saw them at was the Asbury Park Convention Hall, and it was made in like 1908, something like that, and it was retrofitted with a drop ceiling. Dude, you'd sit there watching that, and then you see like a ceiling tile fall out of the ceiling. You look over there, you see a ceiling tile. Bro, they were they made Black Sabbath look like a bunch of dinosaurs. And then Ozzy came out, and he was just like, la la la, just like singing. And I was like, man, my dad took me to that concert, and we were just like, because me and my dad were heavy into Ozzy. So, well, we were heavy into Sabbath at the time. This is before Ozzy left, or Ozzy was kicked out. But my dad was like, I remember looking at it a corner of my eye. He's like looking at me like this. So finally, he goes. He used to call me Hoss. He's like, Hoss, how do you like this? I said, it's all right, man. He was like, yeah, let's get out of here. We left, man. It was boring. It's great to, I mean, like, it's almost like Van Halen ruined it for us because had they not opened for them, we weren't there to see Van Halen. We were there to see Sabbath. But had they not opened for them, it was like we would have been like, yeah, okay, Sabbath. Man, they made Sabbath. Van Halen made Sabbath look like a bunch of dinosaurs, bro. Like a bunch of drunk dinosaurs, bro. Don't get me wrong, I love Sabbath. I still love Sabbath. You know. But Van Halen were like the 21st century, and Van Halen, it was almost like you saw the future of rock music. It was like you just knew. You're like, whoa, whoa. From the playing to the showmanship to like the drums to like everything, the performance, the songwriting, everything, the guitar tone. It was like the future and the past. That's the only way you could describe it. It was like the future and the past. You know what I mean? It was crazy. Um, seeing I saw Yes in concert at the Garden State Arts Center, but I was tripping at the time, so I wasn't really paying attention. I was on like I don't this is back in my partying days. I was on like 2 hits of acid, and I was tripping my face off. So I was kind of like, okay, yeah, yeah. We were all tripping. It was like 5 of us. We were all tripping. Um, let me see. Iron Maiden, Quiet Riot. Quiet Riot was a snooze fest. Iron Maiden, this is when they came out with the Peace of Mind tour, when they were touring with Peace of Mind. I was like, whoa. Um, Let me see. Performances playing in front of like 20,000 people. Um, that was, there was like goosebumps, bro. I was in a gospel group and we were doing a concert. And I had goosebumps. It was wild. Um, yeah, it was you know, it was just it was wild. But yeah, just um I think the most, and I've had dudes who I look up to like, yo, bro, you're dope. Like you're like, who do you play with? Like, where do you play? Where are you from? Blah 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 blah. Like I've had dudes like that I look up to. I think that's like the biggest thing for me is seeing the guys that I look up to acknowledge me. You know, the concerts. I think out of the concerts, it was, well. I'll say this: it was the Thriller tour and the Van Halen, the Black Sabbath Van Halen tour. Those two concerts. Um, those were, as far as seeing things, those were the biggest concerts. As far, and I've been to tons of concerts. Um, but as far as experience, just playing with like in front of like a large crowd. It's about. I'm gonna give it like 15,000 people. It was a lot of people, man. It was about 15,000. Um, but yeah, um, it's different than playing in a club. It's completely different. It is, even if you're playing in like I've played in front of 2,000 people, 1,500 people, something like that, 3,000 people. That's regular, regular. But even with that, like it's weird, man. It's a different it's different than playing in your church or playing in a bar or playing in a club. It's different, man. It's different. It hits different, man. Like you know, when you've got all those bodies and everybody's looking at you, you know, um, it's weird, man. It's a weird experience. Oh man, thanks, bro. Thanks. You know what, bro? I try to work on humility. I don't want to be like I'm the most humble man in the world. You know, I don't like pride. I don't like pride. Pride makes you stupid. Pride prevents you from learning and growing because you think you know it all. And ultimately, I'd rather be humble. Like I made a decision. I don't care how old you are or how you could be a 7-year-old kid. If you can do something better than me, I'm gonna be like, hey kid, how do you do that? Like I'm not gonna age. And the thing is, when you get older, you tend to kind of downplay anybody younger than you. Um, and that it's because you've lived some years and you've kind of gained some wisdom. You know what I mean? And you have to make a concerted effort to be like, uh, but yeah. Oh, okay, okay. Oh man, this dude, his suit is like extra tight. Loosen up that suit. Take off your little brother's suit jacket, bro. Take off your little brother's suit jacket. Um, but I try to stay humble, man, because it keeps you learning, bro. and it keeps you relatable. And not only that, man, like everything you learn is not for you. You're not supposed to hoard information. You're supposed to give it to other people. Give it away, man. You know what I mean? It's like dying with a bunch of money. It's like, what are they gonna like withdraw your money out the bank and throw it in the casket with you? Like it's not gonna do you any good. You know, knowledge is like money, man. Wisdom and insight, it's like money, bro. You're supposed to pass it on to other people. You know. Yeah. Okay. But bro, that's a good thing, man. Study other styles, man, because you could use it in like whatever you're playing. If you learn other styles, you can kind of like apply it to what you're playing at that time, man. What I've been working on, stuff like this. Stuff like that. Just kind of like ostinatos and stuff. But that, even, I don't know. Oh, stuff like this. So that's there's a lot of drum and bass. Learning a lot of electronic stuff. So and getting that to feel like electronic, to feel like hyper quantized. You know, um, and really working on grooves. working on my feel, my touch. Working on double bass stuff, like doing doubles with my feet. You know, paradiddles with my feet, stuff like that. So, um, yeah, so yeah, just working on all kinds of stuff. Oh, no, no. The crazy thing is, it's hard for me to just give you a role because a lot of times I'm improvising. I'm not, I don't think in terms of. I think in terms of like I have so many kind of tools and so many different. It's kind of like painting. I have so many colors to work from that just I could just vomit out a riff. Now, if I vomit out a riff, I'm not gonna remember what I did. Like a lot of it's hard to think that how do you not remember? Stop playing around. Stop playing, bruh. Come on, man. Come on, dog. Oh, you lying. You trying to hide something. But it really is like that. That I'm saying that because I used to think that way. I used to be like, you really don't remember what you're doing. Now I'm at a point now where I don't remember what I'm doing. Like I just kind of play what pops up in my head. It's like a thought. It just pops up. I play it and it goes away. But what I do is I have building blocks. I have like Legos, and I mix and match the Legos to kind of fit what I'm doing. Like this is, that's one. If I go, that's another one. If I'm going, you know, so my point is don't think in roles or riffs. Don't think in roles. I think in like either rudiments. I'll invert rudiments. Like I do inverted paradiddles. I do regular paradiddles. You know. Um, so I could do regular ones. You know, but I can do inverted ones. The reason why is because they sound like this. You know, my doubles, I don't play regular doubles. Whenever I play doubles, I start off with a single and I end with a single. So they all sound relatively the same. Um, this is weird. I'm used to playing them on a practice pad, but so I like accented singles. So I can go. You know, so but like I said, I don't think in terms of riffs. Now I guess this is or I might go. So but like I said, I don't think in terms of roles. Like I'm going to play a role here. I usually just play. I already have the math worked out in my head, and I just kind of vomit it out. Yeah, I just don't. I don't. I don't think of. Yeah, it's no exactly the dude who posted. Oh, Cobham, blah 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 blah. No, you're exactly right. It's kind of like it's both sides of your brain kind of synapsing. Just your brain. So like, you're improvising, which is the left side of your brain, but you're always aware of the math it takes for the whatever you're playing to fit. So and that's the right side of your brain. So it kind of it's a and it took years for me to stop thinking and just start playing. You know, but the moment you start playing, you got to start recording. Like the stuff I'm doing now, I'm recording right now. I'm recording because I want to look back and be able to. Oh, that's what I played. I like that. I'm gonna take that riff. You know what I mean? Because a lot of times I don't remember what I'm playing. As weird as it sounds, I just don't remember it. You know. But yeah. That is a. Oh man, it's from like it's an offshoot of. I think it's Yoruban, which is which is it's like a native Zulu religion, which is also, but it's kind of like native Zulu, but it's also part of parts of what's the name of that place, man? Nigeria. But this, what I was just playing, it's not Nigerian. It's something else. I think it's Cameroonian or something like that. I can't remember. Yeah, it's like I think it's Cameroonian. Um, this is how I got used to it. I developed this exercise. I used to play that exercise for hours. Play them to a metronome, play them just straight up without a metronome, then play them back to a metronome, and then play them without a metronome. Like I played it for hours because I wanted to just get it, man. I wanted to understand it. I wanted to understand the pulse of it. You know. All right, guys. I gotta let my phone charge because probably I know it's going dead. It's been about an hour and a half, at least an hour and a half. But I will be back. I'll be back. This is just my early afternoon or late afternoon, early evening stream. I gotta go to Home Depot. I'm actually making a pair of studio monitors. Yeah, I make my own gear. I'm thinking about selling them. I was talking to a friend of mine. He was like, what's the market? I said pros to consumer, prosumer. Like if you're an amateur, I can't even say prosumer. Um, well, sorry guys, I keep burping in the mic. I can't even say prosumer because it is for pros. But it's affordable enough for consumers. Put it that way. You know, for a pair, $200 a pair. And that's a steal considering they cost about $70 a piece to make. They cost about $60 a piece to make. You know, um, yeah, they cost about $60. Wait, 50? No, they cost about $70 to make. Yeah, they cost about $70 with all the parts. Forget the labor. With all the parts, it costs about $70. So, you know, um, you know, so that's a $60 markup. You know, um, and that because that's for labor and like I had to actually buy tools. You know, I have to actually I hand solder, I hand wire everything. So yeah. Yo, stay tuned. Subscribe to my channel. I'm not just saying subscribe because I'm like I want you guys to boost my YouTube. No, subscribe to the channel because I'm always giving out gems. I'm always giving out mixing gems. I'm always giving out playing gems. I'm always giving out little tips and tricks that guys show me. Like I know a lot of guys who are audio engineers, and there's a market for speakers, and they're passive speakers. Eventually, I'm going to make active speakers, but they're passive speakers. Um, but yeah, I'm. It's five something. I gotta go to Home Depot. I got a couple tools I gotta get. Um, but yeah, so subscribe for more. Definitely subscribe for more. But I will be back. I'll be back. And just stick around. Just hit the notification button, because a lot of times, like, I like to share a lot. Like, I give lessons, you know. I have a whole, like, I give lessons. I teach. But if you'd like lessons, go on my YouTube channel. You could, you click the link, and then there's like a Google form that you fill out everything you want, blah 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 blah. But yeah, just do all that stuff. Like, subscribe, all that stuff. Just do all that stuff. I hate sweaty ears. I need to come up with some kind of, headphones that I hate doing this. Just your ears sweat. I love these headphones, but your ears like, ugh.